Good morning or afternoon, wherever you happen to be. Thank you for your patience. I had some technical difficulties. Let me go and get Amazon on the road, then we get started. Suddenly I have an accent. Hold on a second. There we go. Welcome. My name is Damon Brown of DamonBrown.net. My main thing is helping you as a side hustler, a solopreneur, otherwise a non-traditional entrepreneur. I'm author of the new book, Build From Now, How to Know Your Power, See Your Abundance, and Nourish the World. Thanks for all of you that have supported it. You can grab it pretty much anywhere on Amazon. If you're checking out on Amazon Live, you can see the link somewhere on your feed there. You can also grab it at DamonBrown.net, which is my personal website where you can get the Build From Now t-shirt and all that good stuff signed. You can also get it at your favorite platforms. So if it's Barnes & Noble, it's over there. If it's your favorite indie bookstore, it's over there. You can go through bookshop.org and so forth. I have a whole bunch of links that are available in the links below, particularly if you're catching it on YouTube or on LinkedIn or on one of the other social media platforms. But Build From Now is out now. What you're watching right now is the Bring Your Worth show. It's based on my imprint called Bring Your Worth, based on my previous book called, as you can guess, Bring Your Worth, instead of being the name of my independent book imprint. And Build From Now is actually a part of the Bring Your Worth series. If you're liking what you're seeing, you can connect with me every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday around 11:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Usually on time, sometimes a few minutes later. You know, I got kids, so you got to run with what you got. But every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, you'll get a new show. And the Mondays and Friday ones are like 5, 10, 15-minute quick little vignettes, quick little things that will give you insight and tips for the rest of your week or for your weekend as you're planning for the next week. The Wednesday shows are almost always live. We'll see if we can continue that into the spring and the summer as my kids and other things start to go into fluctuation. Hopefully we'll be on the road soon because I love connecting with y'all in person whenever possible. But this is actually not only a good substitute, but I want to go and keep it going as the world starts to open up, which, knock on wood, will be very soon. All right. If you want to learn more about Build From Now and you want to get more insight into what Build From Now is about, you can take the free Build From Now quiz at buildfromnowquiz.com. Almost 1,000 of y'all have taken it. I just launched it like a few months ago when the book came out in January. Man, I appreciate the support. It will give you the best insight into which of the 4 resources that I identify as a coach that you have the most of, and that will help you design your plan, whether it's focus, agility, time, or energy. You'll learn it really quickly. It's a 2-minute quiz. It's 4 or 5 multiple choice questions. Really, really simple, straightforward. Again, it's free. You don't need to buy the book to get this, but I'm just trying to give as much insight as possible. As I talk about in Build From Now, which I wrote during the pandemic, I actually started the book and finished it last year while my family and I were sheltering in place. We still are. And with this year and the direction that we're going in, it's so important that you know the best tools. I've talked about this in my previous books. If you've had me as a coach or if you're familiar with the program, you know my stance on that, where there's no better time to get ready than now. And now is always the best time to figure out what your next act is going to be. It's rare, at least in my lifetime, I'm in my 40s, and it's rare in my lifetime where we're all, literally everyone in the world is all at the same place. And as we've approached this kind of grim anniversary of the pandemic, which actually started a few months ago, but here in America, it impacted us the most in March. We're at the end of March right now as I'm recording this. And to know what your next move is going to be, everyone's going to be in that space. Like everyone. Like, I'm starting to get speaking requests to do things in person over the next year. And the first time I got one, to be honest, I freaked out. I was like, what do you mean in person? And I'm like, oh yeah. And then I'm here in Las Vegas. The the vaccine's starting to roll out. So suddenly it's like, oh my gosh, we can actually start to leave our homes, ideally in a safe manner. But that's starting to open up. The airlines are starting to email me more. If you know any of my work, you know I love to travel. And suddenly they're like, hey, we're opening back up. And so now is the perfect time to work on what your systems are going to be. Because the world's going to speed up again. And whatever opportunities you have right now, whether it's I don't know why I'm putting up 5 hands or 5 fingers, 10 fingers. I don't know why. You have the 4 resources that I talk about in Build From Now. You have focus, you have agility, you have time, and you have energy. Those are your 4 resources. Again, they're on the t-shirts over at DamonBrown.net. You'll see them on the cover of Build From Now, right here. Sorry, this is my author copy. This is you'll see it down here. If you don't know what your main resource is, and then you start getting back into the world, maybe you're going back to the workplace, maybe things that you couldn't do before, you can suddenly do now. If you don't have your systems in place, it's not going to matter. You can have all the advantages in the world, but as soon as something changes again, which it will, because that's life, nothing is static, then things are going to fall apart. That actually ties into what we're going to talk about today. One last thing, if you want to learn even more about Build From Now, you can watch my TED Talk at the link right there, or you can go to youtube.com/Brown Damon, which is, again, my hub for all the video stuff. So you can watch all my keynotes, but I actually did a TED Talk about this very topic. So if you want to go deeper in that, aside from the quiz, this will be a good place to start. Of course, you can grab the book on all the major platforms, including through my website, damebrown.net. We got the audiobook and all that good stuff. All right. Today, we're going to talk about how to build passive income. And passive income has been a discussion of mine. Man, I think I got serious about passive income. It had to be like 2 decades ago when I realized that you could write something once and then get paid for it multiple times. That blew my mind. This is before blogging really took off. This is before I was even schooled on books. And I was like, wait a second. So I can spend several months writing one book, get it out to the audience, as Seth Godin says, here, I made this, right? Give it to y'all. And then that's it. I don't need to update the book or anything. And then I will get paid in perpetuity. I love that word, 2 words, in perpetuity, as long as I own the rights to it, which gets the intellectual property. I've written entire books about it. We can put that to the side for right now. But the ability to create something once and get paid multiple times. That's my definition of passive income. For other people, it might be a different definition. I'm looking at it as a creator. And so this is mainly for creators, for someone who's going to create something and then get paid for it later without doing additional work or doing minimal work on it. I've updated my books over the years, but it's minimal work. And those books sell sometimes every day, sometimes every week, sometimes several a month. I don't know why I said it that much. I think I was trying to emphasize it. But those checks come in, end of the month, I'm getting little pieces from here and there. I've never gotten rich, or I've not gotten rich yet off of the work that I do. But as of right now, I should have known this before I got on here, between 30 and 40 different passive income streams. And that comes from my YouTube channel, which is slowly going to get monetized. So there's ad revenue and other things that come from that. It's my ink column, which I have a new ink column, which I'll throw up the link to it in a second. I have one that just went live. Every time y'all click on it or check it out, it's no cost to you, but I get paid through the advertisements because those are eyes. And so that's passive income. I have between 500 and 600 ink columns with my ink column at inkdamonbrown.com. Again, I'll throw up the link in a second. That's allowed to create. It's helped me create some type of stability. The thing is, if you're going to be an independent creator, I've been an independent creator. This is my 21st year. As I talked about in the previous episode where we talked about energy, again, you can catch it over at youtube.com/Brown Damon. If you missed last week's episode on Wednesday when we had the live show, I've been doing it for 21 years. And it was probably, I would say about 7 years ago that I started to pivot. It was a hard pivot. Tough on everybody, to be honest. That pivot of saying, instead of getting the quick money, I'm going to get the long money. So I'm going to create books. I've published 7 books in the past 5 years now. So each of those books requires resources, requires time. I don't have an advance coming in, so that requires risk on my part and investment. Luckily, I know the publishing industry, so I'm able to put it out there. But I'm going to create this so that as I sleep, then these books will sell. I'll get $1 here, $10 here, hundreds of dollars here, and that will be continual. So even if I were to depart right now, leave this earth, that money's still going to be coming in. That, again, is the definition of passive income, but that requires a pivot. My pivot was pretty sharp, and it was shortly after our first son was born 8 years ago now. But now I'm starting to see the effects of that, where I have hundreds, sometimes thousands of dollars coming in, and particularly last year, which I will get into in a couple events that I have coming up, which I'll be sure and throw the links up to starting in May. But I'll get more into detail with this. But creating these things so that this will slowly build. And like particularly with last year, it was a significant amount of my income that came in from passive income. So my actual salary didn't go up that much, but the percentage that was actually passive income was like a record high. Like it was a good chunk, like a huge percentage. And I'm like, oh, okay. So then if I keep the passive income going, then I can just go ahead and work on my active income. And then suddenly my salary might be my basic salary, or basic nut as they call it, might be covered by the passive income. I'm going to give a few books, I think it's 4 that I'm highlighting today, that will help you understand this. So just to give some more insight into it, I have a new ink column that's out right now from Brene Brown, not directly from her, but from a quote that she had. It's over on my ink column at inkdamonbrown.com, or you can click the link right here. And it's Brene Brown, What Leaders Get Wrong About Vulnerability. If you're not actually having clear leadership, there's going to be, even just leading yourself, you don't need to have a team. If you don't have clear leadership as far as what vulnerability is and how you're going to express yourself, particularly as a creator, then this passive income conversation, we can't have it quite yet. So check out the link. It's, believe it or not, it's actually very pertinent to this conversation. And if you want to go deeper into the passive income discussion, catch me at the Authorpreneur Conference. I'm actually keynoting. It's May 1st and 2nd. It's at theauthorconference.com. Use the code name Damon15. It's for us, by us. So it's actually created by a founder who is a writer who's actually built her own business. I'm going to be talking about Bring Your Worth, which is the name of my imprint. So come through. It's actually really affordable right now. I think the early bird ended, but you're still looking at, I think it's $99. And then you get a discount if you end up using my code, which is courtesy of me. I also have coaching 1 to 2. Still trying to figure that out depending on how many people I know coming through. We're going to have 1 to 2 coaching sessions that are going to be a la carte from me, kind of like an after party for the conference. So come through, check it out. Come through before it ends up selling out. And that's what's going on. Lastly, if you want to get deeper into this conversation right now, aside from us talking right now and after you log off, go to How to Make a Good Living as a Freelancer. It's a previous episode that I had. It's been really popular. Come check it out. You'll learn more about the freelance game, which, I want to respect your time. So I won't get deep into that here. But this is the link for it. I talk about it for like 15 minutes. Again, I just about to hit my 21st anniversary as a freelancer. I'm giving all my game out. So if you're trying to do the independent hustle, this is where to start. Speaking of that, you want to understand passive income, how to build it, how to create it. A lot of the frustration that my background is journalism. And so a lot of the journalists that I work with, freelance friends of mine, I'm a freelancer, so I'm independent. That means that I write for different publications and outlets, but I don't actually have a job with a particular one, right? If you're doing the independent hustle, one of the biggest and frustrating things is that you want to raise your income, which I get, but then you think that you need to trade time for money. In other words, I need to do another assignment. I get another assignment, I make more money. But what if there was a way to actually make more money off of one assignment, and then you keep your time? You keep your time and you're able to, again, for me, spend time with my family. You're able to rest, actually take a break. I took a break for the last 2 days because it's spring break here in Vegas. So it's like being able to stop. That comes from passive income. And so many of us wear ourselves out. There are 4 books that I would recommend to kind of start that conversation. Because the biggest question I have isn't, is passive income worth it? I think a lot of us agree with that, at least a lot of people in my circle. The biggest question I often get is, how do I start? This is what this conversation is about. We're going to spend about 15 more minutes on it. We're going to go over those 4 books. First one I recommend, which actually has a physical book, which is rare nowadays, is Side Hustle by Guillebeau. I consider him a friend. We actually connected when I lived in the Midwest, and he had a book signing in Detroit. But I was a fan of his before then. His book came out about a year after my bestseller came out, The Bite-Sized Entrepreneur. You can see, sorry, my lighting's messed up today, but you can see they're kind of cousins here. So that's why I'm happy to support them. Love the book. As you can see, From Idea to Income in 27 Days. His argument is very similar to mine. Oh, sorry, let me hook you up on Amazon Live. Sorry, guys over there. His book argument is very similar to mine. Don't quit your day job. Do not quit your day job. Do not quit your day job. I have another parallel to the speaking business which, I've been a professional speaker for a few years now. I'm starting to go from novice to intermediate to, hopefully a full-blown, full-time speaker now. But in my learnings over the last 5-6 years, there's a discussion that's similar to this. But let's stick with this right now. Side hustle. What he's basically saying is that you need to create something that will live beyond you. That means you have your day job, you do the side hustle, you create the systems. You see in the pattern? That's why Chris and I get along. You create the systems, and once you create the systems, you can still do your day job and continue to make money. A side hustle is, I love the icon here, the visual. It's like a sidecar. It's something on the side. It's not something that's supposed to take over your life. Now, if you eventually want to go full time with it, that's cool. If you want it to be your main income, that's even cool too. That's what I was just saying, actually. Me getting to the point where the passive income that I have coming in from my books, my t-shirts, my Bring Your Worth mug, to get meta for a second, this YouTube channel, getting to the point where that becomes equal to my annual salary. And then the speaking engagements that I do and the one-on-one coaching that I do, you can learn more at damonbrown.net. All that stuff over there, that becomes additional income. So flipping the script. But that's kind of like where I'm at right now. Maybe all you want right now is for your side hustle to bring in a little bit of stuff, have some extra money, put some stuff for a rainy day, whatever the case may be. Quitting your day job isn't going to accomplish that. And in fact, it ends up putting a lot of pressure on that side hustle to work. You don't want that pressure on there. When I did Cuddler, my most successful startup, that was, we just had our 7th anniversary. I did it for a year. I was a co-founder of it. We got super popular, ended up selling it right after my son's 2nd birthday because I was a primary caretaker while I was a co-founder of it. I go over the whole story in The Ultimate Weiss Entrepreneur, but I actually get even deeper into it in the new book, Build From Now. But when I did that, I was still a full-time journalist and I was still writing books, I believe, but I was definitely still writing. I think I did some consulting at the time. Like I was doing all these things. We had the #1 app in several countries. We sold it at a profit. I still didn't quit my day job. Do you understand? Like we're on the cover of the Wall Street Journal. If you have that level of success and you're not quitting your day job, that should be like a symbol to you because we had the pinnacle of success, and we all kept our day jobs, right? So then whatever money we had from there, it was so-called extra, or it was earned from the journey and so forth. Now, we didn't become millionaires off of it. It's signed by NDAs and stuff. And we're not getting into that. But we didn't become millionaires off it or anything. But it did become money that came from what was essentially a side hustle. And of course, at least for me, it ended up changing the course of my life because then I wanted to take that insight that I gained and shared it with you. So #1, what you get from a side hustle isn't necessarily just money. You also get these insights that you want to get from your day job. What I experienced allowed me to become a coach, to become a public speaker, to become a consultant. I couldn't get that from journalism. No offense to journalism. I love journalism. So I got 2 degrees in it. You know my history, you know I love journalism. But the insights that I got came from the side hustle, even though the side hustle wasn't necessarily paying the bills until we ended up selling it. Again, 11 months after the app went live. That's what he's talking about in this. You want to really build your side hustle. And if you do want to quit your day job, and I've heard this from so many folks, do it later rather than sooner. Few people say, oh, okay, I wish I would have quit my day job sooner to do this full time because, I love this so much and the money's so good. It's often the opposite, where people end up leaving their day job early to do a side hustle. And then, then I'm having a black swan event, or ends up being something random that happens, or there's certain wrinkles that they didn't put into account. And then suddenly they're in trouble. You don't want to be that guy. So if you're thinking of a runway, which means money saved or time, if you're thinking that you need 6 months to feel secure and make it 12. He talks about this in there, but he has great examples of side hustles. He also has a really good podcast. I think it's still going. This book came out, again, back when I lived in the Midwest, so it would have been 3-4 years ago. Yeah, it was after the Ultimate Weiss Entrepreneur came out. That was late 2017. This book came out 3.5, almost 4 years ago. He's had a daily podcast, has to be up to 1,000 episodes by now. Check out the podcast as well. It's excellent, well done, where each day he features a new person, a new type of side hustle that's available to people. All right. Give Chris Guillebeau, I want to give him his flowers because he's been killing it from the $100 startup to his latest one. I think it's called The Money Tree. This is my personal favorite, though. Please check it out. And any formulaic. All right, this one is very personal to me. It's called The Passive Writer. I do it with my good friend and longtime goal buddy, Jeanette. She's also an author, does amazing work. She's working on like 3 books right now. Like, just prolific. Actually, let me go ahead and I'll throw her website in the chat. Maybe I should have done that. There you go. I'm giving you love. I'm not showing people how they can reach you. But we actually worked on the book together, and it's from as part of the Bring Your Worth imprint. So it's actually independent books. So support your independent books. Actually, oh man, I totally forgot my copy. It is in my car. I have several copies actually in my closet, but I don't want to disturb the flow. But check out passivewriter.com. It's easy to remember. If you're looking at Amazon Live, you know the cover. We did this book. She's another full-time freelance writer. She's, I think her next book that's coming out is going to be like her 17th book. Build From Now is like my 25th book, believe it or not. And so we've been in the game for a long time. Again, we're good friends, working together, supporting each other all along the way. She actually was the editor on, which side is it? That side. Build From Now. I'm tired of grabbing the book. It's on that side. Build From Now, as well as with The Ultimate Bite-Sized Entrepreneur, has been super supportive. This book was after we worked with so many different journalists as coaches, as friends, as supporters, who were saying, I'm so burnt out. I want to make an extra $10,000 this year, but I don't know how I'm going to write $10,000 worth of articles. Like, I can't do anymore. And all of us as freelancers, as independents, myself included, there's a certain point where we cap out. We can't work hard any harder. Many of us are independent, as in we're solopreneurs. That not everyone will agree with that, right? Because that's part of educational process, I think. But we all own a small business. If you own a small business and you're the only person that's working there, which we often are as freelance writers, then that means that you can only work so hard. You still need to eat, you still need to sleep, you still need to do the other things and actually live a life, ideally have a vacation, have a couple of days off during the year. And so hitting your financial goals isn't always matching what you're capable of. So you need to change the game. This was after many, many discussions, and The Passive Writer is actually based on a standing room only event. We weren't planning to be a standing room only, but standing room only event that we had at the American Society of Journalists and Authors. That's asj.org. They actually have a conference coming up in a few weeks. Throw that up there. But check them out. I was actually part of the leadership with them, and I was a board member. But we ended up having an event there where we talked about passive income. And the place was packed. People were asking for more and more. Came down to 5 basic steps. One of the steps we talk about is forget one and done. So we have a tendency as journalists to create something and then just get it out and move on to the next topic. We're trying to go against that and say, no, you create something, you reformat it, you put it in a different flow, and then you put it back out there in a different way to a different audience. For instance, with my book, Build From Now, it's available as a paperback, as a hardcover, as an audiobook, and as a digital book on Kindle and all the other platforms. So that's a really basic idea, but me putting it and making the effort to put it on different platforms means that I didn't have to do it all over again. Aside from recording the audio version of the audiobook, which took a little while, aside from that, me doing a hardcover of this didn't take much more work than me doing the paperback, then much more work than me doing the digital version. Here's the hardcover. It's the same content. So that's one thing we talk about as far as getting over the one and done. And instead, you do one and then you sell it multiple times. We get much deeper into it in The Passive Writer. Again, I'll be talking about this more at the upcoming Authorpreneur Conference happening May 1st and 2nd. But The Passive Writer is a good primer for it. We actually have some fun stuff that we're working on right now behind the scenes as far as an update to The Passive Writer. So be sure and grab it. Keep an eye out for it at passivewriter.com. It's going to be so good stuff. All right. And then someone asked, are you familiar with oh, yes, totally. I am familiar with that theory. That's so funny. Sorry, I got to comment on another thing. And I am familiar with that theory. All right. So This one changed how I did business. It changed how I did business. Value-based fees. Sorry, I can't talk today. Value-based fees by Alan Weiss. It is killer. Let me make sure it's highlighted. Ooh, quick story. I hadn't heard of Alan Weiss. Actually heard about it through a fellow consultant and actually a close relative of mine, Burnett Johnson. Shout out to her. And I was actually in the middle or about to negotiate one of the biggest deals I've ever negotiated as a consultant. And they were like, you need to get this book. So I checked it out. The physical book at the time, the price is different now. At the time, the physical book was $50. The digital version was $35. The digital version, like Kindle or whatever, digital version was $35. I was gonna start the negotiation the day after that. I bought it. And it wasn't like I was rolling in money. So I bought it. I got 10x that easily. I would pay for it again. This book is phenomenal. Alan Weiss is a consultant, longtime consultant. I'm guessing he's in his 70s or 80s. Longtime consultant. And what he does is he breaks down all the tips and tricks to negotiating well for what you're worth. Sound familiar? Again, the name of my imprint is called Bring Your Worth. So I dig what he's saying. What he breaks down in value-based fees is how you and why you should charge based on what your value is versus the amount of time you put into this. Does this sound familiar? That's why all these books are recommended by me, because it's getting us out of that mindset. There was a great conversation with the guys over at Earn Your Leisure. It's earnyourleisure.com, I believe, but I've been a fan of their podcast for a while. They've come up really, really quickly. Really good insights as far as passive income and different ways you can make money and all that. And they have a conversation, which if I would remember it, I'd throw it in there. Maybe I can throw it into the chat a little bit later on or in the links. They had a chat with the Breakfast Club, which not the old school movie that I know. I can tell my generation, but the Breakfast Club, the three folks that are at, I want to say Hot 97, they have the popular morning drive show. And they were talking, Earn Your Leisure was on there, the two guys were on there, and they said from the neighborhoods they were in, there are always people who had 2-3 jobs, but were never rich, definitely not wealthy. And so if the key to making more money was trading more time for money, then those people that had 2-3 jobs, they're doing the third watch and third shift and all that stuff. Some of the folks that I grew up with, again, back in the Detroit area and other areas, if that was the formula to getting wealth or even getting rich, because wealthy's up here, rich is right here. If that was the formula, they would have been rich, but they weren't. They were struggling. And so you have to find some way to pivot from trading your time to money to creating something and then getting money for that. As they say, having your money work for you. Now, right now, at this point, with the passive income I have, I've gone from pennies to dollars to tens of dollars to now hundreds and thousands of dollars. That's been over the course of several years ago, but I'd really say I got serious about like 5 years ago. But now I'm to the point where I'm like, okay, now I can start to create more content, including in a meta way, what I'm doing with you, create more content. And then that content ends up paying for itself. And so I'm spending a half an hour with you, but I get paid perhaps the equivalent of 5 hours of my time. Over time, as more content gets in, and hopefully I get more insight to you, then that will build over time. Alan's book talks about this. He talks about it as a consultant, but it applies to everything. And I really started getting into this book when I was just on the edge of consulting. I think I had like 1, maybe 2 consulting gigs. I didn't know what I was doing yet. If you asked me at that time, I would tell you I didn't know what I was doing. That's why I got the book. And so my consulting opportunities later just went in so strong. And it's just like, oh, okay. That's not a matter of me being paid per hour. Because you can't, as I talk about in Build From Now, you can't make more time. Time is finite, quite literally. Like it's time ends. We're only going to be on Earth for a certain amount of time. There's only so many hours during the day. Again, you need to rest, you need to eat, you need to take a shower and all that stuff. All those good things that we need to feel well. So you working harder and putting more hours in, at a certain point, it's not going to make any sense. Once the world opens back up, once the outside stimuli start, once the opportunities start to come in, hopefully for you as they are for me, then you're going to need some type of system that allows you to bring in that money and get your worth without trading time for money. This is a masterclass in this. I love this book. Like I read it like every 18 months, every 2 years, something like that. Excellent book. There's no fat in it. And it's pretty expensive. Pay it. Just pay it. If I didn't read this book before I had those consulting gigs, I would have lost thousands. And I mean thousands and thousands of dollars. Not to mention, I wouldn't be showing up as much for you because I wouldn't have understood the opportunity as much. All right. So as we wrap up, one last book, a really big favorite of mine. It's called Profit, if I can say it, Profit First by Mike Michalowicz. Shout out to Mike. Hope you're doing well. His book actually changed how I view money. I actually learned about it from Monique Woodard, the VC of and head of Cake Ventures up in San Francisco. Shout out Monique. Hope you're doing well. And she had told me about it. I grabbed it immediately because I trust her judgment. I grabbed it immediately, loved the book. I think I read it in a night. This is the basic idea of the book. If you grew up with like grandmothers like I did, if you're fortunate enough to have that, they would have like coffee cans. My grandma back in Jersey, rest in peace, she would use envelopes. So they would have coffee cans, envelopes or whatever, and they get their paycheck, usually in cash, whatever they were doing. And then they'd split it up and say, okay, this is for the electric bill. This is for savings. This is for blah, blah, blah. He takes this basic idea. Again, my grandmother was well into her 80s, almost 90s when she passed away. So taking this 90-year-old concept and applying it to independent creators. Profit First is not for someone who's getting a paycheck every 2 weeks. No, it's for us. It's for people who are independent, people who are creating, people who have to do their own taxes, which I just did for my family. You know, it's for us. It's not for people that work in a corporate environment. It's not for people who expect to get a direct deposit or a check every Friday or every other Friday. See, I don't even know what the schedule is because I'm so not used to that schedule. This is really for us. So this book spoke to me really well. And he talks about using these buckets to make sure that you have money for what you need. I'm still working on keeping the bucket straight. I'm going to be 500% transparent about it. And again, I'll talk more about this in my, probably more about this in my keynote that I'll have a month from now at theauthorconference.com. It'll be May 1st and 2nd. But if I didn't have these buckets at all, it would be chaos. Like I managed my stuff for 15 years. I think I got the book 5-6 years ago. I managed my stuff for 15 years as an independent creator without the bucket system. And I was just like, I need to pay for this. I need to pay for this. What's this? What's this? Oh my gosh, I don't have any money left. I'll have to save over here. What's a 401k? Blah, blah. He breaks it down as far as making sure that you split up your money in a certain way so that you have money for emergencies as much as possible. You have money for yourself. Profit first, as far as you giving yourself a quarterly profit, because you are actually the founder of your company. If you're an independent creator, you're a founder of your company. If you're an independent artist, you're a founder of your company. If you're an independent tax preparer, you're a founder of your company. You are a founder. It took me a while to learn that, but once I learned that actually when I became a startup founder, and then I came back to traditional freelancing, and I was like, oh, I've been a founder all along. There's nothing new about this. This book is for you. He has a new book called Clockwork. I think that's the name of it. They just came out early this year or late last year. I did not get a chance to read it yet, so I didn't want to recommend it yet, but I heard it's great. I have people that I'm really close to that are reading it right now. They said it's excellent. Clockwork, as you can imagine, gets more into this concept. I'll report back to y'all once I get a chance to check it out and give you a summary as far as the good stuff that he's working on. All right, so from the top, we have the book, Side Hustle by Chris Guillebeau. If you're not sure how to get started with passive income, this will be a good place to start because then it will show you the ways that you can do a side hustle. A side hustle isn't meant to be your full-time job. Now, if it becomes your full-time job, then that's a decision that you have to make. If it brings in a full-time salary, but then it doesn't have to be your full-time job, isn't that better? I'll leave it at that. Then The Passive Writer with me and my good friend, Jeanette. We talk about particularly towards creators and particularly even deeper towards writers, but creators in general, as far as how you can create something once and get paid for it multiple times. Both Jeanette and I live in proof of this. Again, I have 30 to 40, that's my estimate, might be like 42, I think, different passive income streams. Some of them are pennies, some of them are hundreds, some of them are thousands. They're all activated in here. We give up the goods and the insight in there. Value-Based Fees by Weiss. Do not be scared by the price tag. You will get your money's worth. Like I said, I spent like $40 for the digital version of it. Don't regret a penny. I would pay it again 10 times because I got so much money based on the insight that Alan is dropping in here. Lastly, there's Profit First by Michalowicz. He has a new book out called Clockwork, which I think talks about systems. So I can't wait to read it, but I haven't read it yet. But this is his classic. I found it about 5-6 years ago. I think it came out probably a few years before that. It's been on bestseller list like forever. A lot of these books that I'm mentioning, they're perennial favorites for a reason. I'm talking about a book that I got 6 years ago, and I'm like glowing about it now. That says something. That's the power of the written word. He talks about how to manage your stuff, particularly if you're independent. Again, I am far from perfect. I'm still working on my money management skills, but this book took me from, if it's from A to Z, it took me from A to R, like real quick. And I was like, oh, because between this and value-based fees, changed my whole structure as far as how I looked at money, particularly as independent, and helped me make sure that I got my worth. If you're enjoying the program, be sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe, particularly on the YouTube channel. The link is right there. If you subscribe, then that gives me insight as far as, well, it gives some nice love since I do this for free, even though there is some passive income coming, but me just working with you, it's for free. So I would so appreciate it if you subscribe, if you're liking this type of programming. Again, it's every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. I'm live on Wednesdays. Every Monday and Friday, it's a recorded thing, 5, 10, 15 minutes of games, similar to my coaching sessions, but it's free, so it's a lot cheaper than my coaching sessions. If you don't want to go deeper with my coaching, you can come over to damonbrown.net. But for right now, please subscribe if you're enjoying the programming. It gives me insight. And then if you wanted to do some commentary and let me know how you can go deeper and what you want me to talk about, because I want to make this program about you, not about me. You can go and take the free quiz based on my new book, Built From Now, How to Know Your Power, See Your Abundance, and Nourish the World. So if you want more insight into how you can bring your worth, you can watch my TED Talk based on Build From Now, the new book, over at this link right here. And I will be speaking again at the Authorpreneur Conference, actually going to be the keynoter on the second day, May 2nd. It is, I believe, $99 to come through. It's all virtual. I know the crowd of the folks that are coming. If you're looking to, again, be an author and entrepreneur as far as making a good living based on what you're doing and think about some of the deep stuff we talked about today, come through, use the code Damon15 and it'll get you a nice little discount. And I think that's everything. Yeah. And if you, that we talked about today, particularly in freelancing, be sure and check out my popular episode of the Bring Your Worth show like 2 weeks ago. Yeah, the feedback on it has been really strong, and I'm happy to give any type of game I can give from the 21 years that I've been an independent freelancer. And again, slowly but surely building my passive income so that hopefully it will come from passive income on the side, active income over here, to the other way around. So you're watching progress in real time, as they say. And remember that you can always bring your worth, that you can always build from now. You take care. I'll see you next Wednesday.